Imagine this. A single act of kindness changes someone's life forever. You might walk past a person sitting alone on the street and wonder about their story. How did they end up there? What if your small gesture could make all the difference? Where are you watching from? Share in the comments below and be sure to hit subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Welcome to the Timeless Stories channel, where we share real stories that uplift and inspire. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help spread positivity and hope. Now let's dive into today's heartfelt story, a powerful tale of resilience, humanity, and the unexpected strength of kindness. Silverwood was a city that never seemed to pause. Skyscrapers stretched into the pale winter sky, while the streets buzzed with a constant flow of people rushing to work, catching trains, or chasing their ambitions. Even in the early hours, the air was filled with the hum of traffic and the echo of hurried footsteps. But amid the city's endless hustle, there were those the world had learned to overlook. One of them was Ben, a man in his late 40s, sitting on a cold sidewalk against the brick wall of a coffee shop. His clothes were worn thin, his beanie frayed at the edges, and his shoes barely held together. He clutched a small sign, its edges curling from the damp air, that simply read, "Hungry, anything helps." Ben hadn't always lived this way. He once had a steady job, a modest apartment, and a quiet but comfortable life. But a series of layoffs at his factory sent him into a downward spiral. One eviction notice led to another, and before he knew it, the streets had become his home. Each day blurred into the next, marked by the bitter cold, the ache of hunger, and the weight of invisibility. The world rushed past him as though he didn't exist. But one frosty morning, something unusual happened. As Ben sat quietly, his hands trembling from the cold, a man stepped out of a black sedan parked a few feet away. The man, dressed simply in a dark coat and scarf, moved with purpose, yet without drawing attention to himself. His name was Keanu Reeves. Keanu had always been known for his humility, but what set him apart was his ability to see people others overlooked. That morning, as he walked down the busy sidewalk, he noticed Ben. While others passed by without a glance, Keanu slowed his pace and eventually stopped. He crouched down, meeting Ben's tired eyes. "Are you hungry?" he asked softly, his voice calm and steady. Ben blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. It took him a moment to process the question, and even longer to realize who was asking it. Yet at that moment, Keanu's fame mattered less than the simple fact that someone had seen him. I... I don't expect anything anymore," Ben replied hesitantly, his voice rough from the cold and lack of use. Keanu nodded thoughtfully. Without another word, he rose and walked into the nearby coffee shop. Minutes later, he returned with a steaming cup of coffee and a sandwich wrapped neatly in paper. "Here," he said, handing them to Ben. Ben hesitated before taking the food, his fingers trembling as they wrapped around the warm cup. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. But Keanu didn't stop there. Instead of walking away, he sat down on the sidewalk beside Ben, ignoring the curious glances of passers-by. Together they sat in silence for a moment as Ben sipped the coffee, letting its warmth spread through him. Keanu then began asking gentle questions, not prying, but genuinely interested in hearing Ben's story. Ben opened up about his struggles, from the job loss that had sent him into a downward spiral to the nights spent shivering on the streets, hoping for a place in the overcrowded shelters. Keanu listened without judgment, his presence offering a sense of dignity that Ben hadn't felt in years. At one point, Ben paused, his voice trembling. "Why would someone like you stop for someone like me?" Keanu's response was simple but profound. "Because you matter." For the first time in what felt like forever, Ben felt seen. Tears welled in his eyes, but he quickly looked away, embarrassed. Yet Keanu's words lingered, a beacon of hope in a world that had seemed so dark. Before leaving, Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small slip of paper. He scribbled down a number and handed it to Ben. "This is for an outreach program," he explained. "They can help you find shelter and work if you're ready. Call them when you're ready." Ben clutched the paper tightly, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and fear. "Thank you," he said again, his voice barely above a whisper. Keanu stood, offering a small smile. "Take care of yourself, Ben." And with that, he walked away, blending back into the busy streets of Silverwood. Days passed, and Ben held on to that slip of paper as though it were a lifeline. He wrestled with doubt and fear, wondering if the program would truly help or if it was too late to turn his life around. But Keanu's words echoed in his mind. You matter. Finally, on a particularly cold evening, Ben mustered the courage to use a payphone to call the number. A kind voice answered, and within days, Ben found himself at a community center where he was welcomed warmly. They provided him with temporary shelter, clean clothes, and resources to begin rebuilding his life. Over the next few months, Ben worked tirelessly. He attended job training sessions, regained his confidence, and eventually landed a position at a small warehouse. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a fresh start. With his first paycheck, he moved into a modest apartment and began volunteering at the same outreach center that had helped him, determined to give back. One day, as he was walking home, Ben noticed a poster featuring Keanu Reeves for an upcoming film. He stopped and stared, a wave of gratitude washing over him. That one moment of kindness, a coffee, a sandwich, a conversation, had been the catalyst for his journey back to stability. This story isn't just about Keanu Reeves. It's about the incredible power of kindness. It reminds us that no matter how busy our lives may be, we have the ability to make a difference in someone else's life. It doesn't take wealth or fame, just a moment of genuine compassion. What if we all took a moment to truly see those around us, to listen, to lend a hand, and to remind others that they matter? Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can create the biggest impact, more than we could ever imagine. If this story resonated with you, take a step towards spreading kindness today. Share this video, drop a comment below about a time you've experienced or witnessed compassion, and don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Stories for more uplifting content. Together, we can spark a ripple effect of hope and humanity across the world.